Hi there everybody and welcome back to another special video. Today I would actually like to go over and show you guys exactly how I track my dividends in my Google spreadsheet. Now I have made a video on this before, however I didn't really go in depth to it, and I'm only going to be sticking into like two tabs that I have on my spreadsheet to actually track it and tell you how much per year you're going to get a dividend, how much per quarter, and how much monthly, and also when these dividends are being paid out. And if you were to put this amount of money into a specific company, how many shares you would actually get out, what will be your new dividend income from that company, and what is the difference from the current amount. So with that said, let's get started with this video. Guys, we are going to come right into the spreadsheet. Now, I have shown this before. We are in my Dividend Holdings tab right here in my Google spreadsheet. This is not available right now. However, I do want to make this available after this video. However, there are a few caveats that I will go over later that you have to do before you actually make a copy of this. But I will get to that in just 1 second. Let's go over this entire spreadsheet, starting off with what you see right here. First of all, this pretty much is by Dividend Holdings. Essentially everything that I have in M1 in my M1 finance app. The companies I hold, the number of shares, and the amount invested of those shares, I pretty much just put into here. Now the first thing that you're going to see in this column would actually be the ticker symbol, which you can get from pretty much anywhere, right? You have to know the ticker in order to buy the company. Then we have the company. This is just something that I like to put down, which is the company logo. You don't really have to have this. I personally like to have it just because it looks nice. Now the next thing that we have is the Dividend Date. Now this, guys, is something that you really can't find using the Google Finance applications. So this is actually where this specific thing that I'm going to tell you guys in just a little bit comes into effect. But just nonetheless, this is where the Dividend Date pretty much falls in, and again it uses a specific macro in order to get this. Next we have the sector, which just type in the sector. The number of shares, it is essentially from your brokerage account. I have M1, you could use Robinhood, whatever, and you essentially just have to put it in manually. The share price is using the Google Finance formula, where you just put in Google Finance, the cell where the ticker is, and then you just put price, and then it gives you the share price. The amount invested, similar to the share, this you have to put in manually. And now we get into the meat of this whole entire spreadsheet, and this is the dividend yield. Now, just like the Dividend Date, guys, there is no Google Finance formula to figure out the dividend yield. However, there is one guy that I like to watch. His name is Investing Sensei. I know I've shouted him out here in several times, and he actually made a macro for the Google spreadsheet in order to come up with the dividend yield. Now the way that he did it is, it doesn't necessarily find the dividend yield as a whole, but it actually finds how much per share you're getting paid in this company. And in fact, if we actually take a look over here, this is a tab that I usually just keep hidden because I don't really find a sense to keep it on my visible tabs. But this is essentially what the macro picks up. And as you can see right here, it is pretty much every single ticker that I have on my Dividends Holdings tab, and it gives you the dividend amount, the previous dividend amount, the percent increase, and the annual payout. So in order for me to actually come up with this dividend yield, what I do is, since this table does not actually show dividend yield, I just take the annual payout and then I divide that by the current share price, which then gives you the dividend yield percent. That's essentially how you get this. So there really is no need to come up with another macro for it, because we could just figure out the dividend yield with the annual basis. Now with this dividend yield, the reason why this is essentially the meat of this whole entire thing is because, well, the dividend yield keeps changing as this share price keeps changing, or whenever they increase it, right? So you don't want to keep putting in the yield manually every single time they change, because you'll be doing that pretty much every minute of every single day. So Investing Sensei actually came up with a macro that I'm actually going to link in the description below to his videos as to how to actually use it, and then you can come over here to my video to then pretty much use my template for the same kind of dividend tracker. So essentially his macro is actually pretty cool, because if you come over here and you actually hit get latest dividends, well, the script actually runs in the background, and then it essentially clears everything up and it populates it with the correct dividend yield amount, which is actually really cool. So all of this is taking it from the other latest dividends tab, and then I'm just doing a VLOOKUP to bring it over here to bring it into percent form. So as you can see, everything is populated back to 0, and now it's populating back with the correct amount. And yeah, this pretty much just runs the entire program all up until the end. So you can see it is almost done right here. And this is essentially how you pretty much figure out, if the yield that you currently have is up to date. Next, we got the 5-year CAGR. I pretty much just put this. However, his macro doesn't necessarily capture this, so I pretty much just do this manually. This is just mainly for me to know. Now, we actually go into the annual payout. So this is actually very, very easy. So once you figured out the yield, now what you want to do is, in order to figure out the annual payout, is you multiply the number of shares that you currently have times the share price times the current yield. And this gives you the annual payout. Now, for all of those of you who may say, right, but if the share keeps changing, well, doesn't that mean that your annual will keep changing? The thing is that the number of shares is based on the current share price that you buy it at. So this number will actually remain the same in accordance to the number of shares that you have and the yield percent. So as you can see right now, when it comes to JP Morgan is actually paying me around $20.79 every single year. Now bringing it to the semi-annually, I usually don't have this one, only to companies that actually pay semi-annually. But you could just take this value right here, the annual payout, and divide it by 2, and then you get the semi-annually. Quarterly payout, very, very easy. You just take the annual payout and then divide by 2, and then this gives you the quarterly payout. And then for the monthly, you just take the annual and then divide it by 12, and then this gives you the monthly. Next, we got the dollar for next 1xx.xx dividend. This is essentially for me is to tell me how much money would I need to invest for me to get the next $100 into this kind of company. So as you can see right here, when it comes to JP Morgan, I would need almost $12,000 invested at the current share price for me to make $100 in passive income. So next, we got the capital gains and losses, and this pretty much just tracks how much you have gone up or how much you have gone down in capital unrealized gains or losses. So as you can see right here, I am up on JP Morgan $132.61. Very simple formula. All you gotta do is just multiply number of shares times the current share price and then subtract the amount that you have invested, and then that will essentially just give you the capital gains slash losses. Total returns, it is just the capital gains plus losses and the amount invested. And lastly, the weight in portfolio, it is just the total amount invested divided by the total amount that you have invested in your portfolio. So this is essentially this part of my dividend tracker, and you can see it pretty much tells you a lot of information. Now let's actually head down here and pretty much go over the next couple of things. Now this one over here, guys, this one, it is essentially a way for me to look up the companies I want to look up without having to search them all through here and without having to do like a control F. So for example, if I am looking for, okay, let's say I'm looking for Coca-Cola, right? And instead of me going up there and searching Coca-Cola, I just have to put here KO, the ticker, and then it populates it with everything that I would want, essentially what is up there. The share price, the PE at trailing 12 months, the number of shares, the ex-dividend date, the payout date, the amount I have invested, the capital gains, the total returns, the dividend percent, the quarterly dividends or the monthly dividends, and how much to the next $100, the weight in the portfolio, and the dividends per share that this company pays out. And lastly, when it comes to this Dividend Holdings tab, we come over here to, this is to possibly the most important section, because the way that I actually have set this one up is I have put in every single company in accordance to when they actually pay out. So as you can see, the red section over here, it is for January, April, July, and October, which includes all the companies that pay out in these months. Then we have February, May, August, November, all the companies that pay out in this month, and March, June, September, December, and all the companies that pay out in this month. So what this one pretty much just shows is you have here price willing to invest, the number of shares, projected dividends, and the dividend difference. So let's just say that you want to invest into a company right now, and let's just say that you want to put in $1,000, right? Let's just say you want to do that into Lowe's, since Lowe's is ex-dividend is actually coming up soon. So let's say that you want to invest $1,000 into Lowe's. Well, how much is that going to get you with the number of shares, the projected dividends, and the dividend increase that you're going to get? So what you do here is essentially you just come here to where Lowe's is, right? And then you just put in the price willing to invest right here, this second column, and you just put in, let's just say $1,000. And once you hit enter, this actually populates the number of shares that you will get at the current share price, which if we come over here and we look up Lowe's, let's put the ticker symbol LOW, we see that the current share price is $201.28. So at this price, with $1,000, this will get you almost 5 shares, which would actually end up being a total shares of 18.15 shares, essentially the number of shares that you already have, plus this 5 that you're going to get. Then the projected dividends, so in accordance to how many dividends you already have, which in my case, I have $10.55 in dividends being paid out by Lowe's every single quarter. This would actually be increased to $14.52 in dividends, and essentially the increase of said dividend, which would be at around $3.97, as you guys could see right here. So as you can see, this is actually fairly useful, because let's just say that you want to see, oh, which company is going to give me the most amount of dividends for my buck. So let's just say that you put in $1,000 for every single company that you have right here in the months of January, April, and October, and you can pretty much just see, oh, okay, if I were to put in $1,000 for Coca-Cola, this would only give me a dividend difference of $6.77, whereas a company like Store or Vici, it would give me a $12.93 difference. So essentially, you'll be getting more buck for putting money into Store right now than if you went into Coca-Cola, just because of the fact that you are getting more dividends through Store instead of Coca-Cola. And the last part of this section right here is that you also have the total number of dividends that each month pays out. So as you can see right here, for January, I have $255.92, April $242, July $224, and October $224. So you can pretty much just see every single month how much you are going to get in dividends, and of course the average as well. And not only that, it is also dynamic as well. So let's go back to our Lowe's example, and if we put $1,000, we can see that again we're getting a projected dividend of $14.52, which is an increase of almost $4. And as you can see right here into these numbers, well, they actually increased by a factor of almost $4. So if we actually delete this $238.18 would actually decrease to $234. So you can also see how much you are going to be affected by monthly if you were to put in X amount of money into each company. So this is again really a good tool that I made up, and it is a way to essentially track your dividends fairly accurate, and it also shows you how much income you would get every single month. And as you can see right here, I also have the projected dividends payment per year, which is also dynamic in accordance to what you put down here. So let's just say that you put in $2,000 for Lowe's. Well, now that's going to increase to $3,674, which is an increase of almost $8 on the quarterly. So all in all, guys, this is essentially what I like to use when tracking my dividends. I don't necessarily log into M1 pretty much every single time. I only log in when I buy a company and to see how many shares was bought at and the new amount that I have invested. Now, again, when it comes to this, I will actually leave this, guys. I'm going to make a copy of this and put it into a brand new spreadsheet and allow it for all of you guys to have. Just this one. There are other ones that I do plan to release in the future, but this is just me saying thank you again for the 500 plus subscribers, and I finally got my community tab too, so that's really cool. So be on the lookout for posts when I put out something new like this or any of that kind of stuff, right? But nonetheless, I'm going to release this one in just a couple hours as of me releasing this video. It will be in the description below. Just click on it. It should be available to everybody. I think I got that down. You come up here, go to file, you make a copy, and you essentially have it for yourself. However, the one caveat is, guys, I am going to leave Investing Sensei's channel in the link in the description below, because you guys, in order to get that dividend yield to be populated through the macro that he created, you have to get that macro first. So I'm going to leave a link to his videos to where you can actually find his macro calculator. So that way, once you have that done, he pretty much has the videos showing step by step on how to get it. Now you can come to this video afterwards and you can essentially get my dividend tracker, so that way you guys don't have to put it in manually every single time. That pretty much does it for this video, guys. Once again, thank you so much for the 500 plus subscribers. Got my community tab. That is absolutely awesome. Can't wait to reach the next 500 at 1,000. Can't wait for that to happen. I'm trying to come up with something really cool for the 1,000 subscriber mark. Hopefully we can reach it by the end of this year. That'd be awesome. And well, if you like, comment, subscribe. It really does help. You can follow me on my new tech sites of BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble. All link in the description below. If you want to see my Let's Play channel, the link is also in the description below. So with that said, peace out, and I will see you all in my next video, which, by the way, will probably be a stock analysis for this week's upcoming stocks earnings.